Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head back to my motherland of Scotland once again, and we're going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel once before. Now, the last review that I did from this brewery appeared on the channel back in about 2021 or so. These guys are still a very new addition to the Scottish beer scene, but they've been building a very good reputation for themselves over the last couple of years. Now, the beer that we're going to have a look at today is one of their kind of core range beers from what I understand, one they do quite regularly, and it's supposed to be very nice actually, and it's at the opposite end of the beer spectrum, I guess we could say, from the last one that we tried. So needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this one's going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, like I said, we are going to head back to the motherland of Scotland. We are going to go to the city of Glasgow, out to the kind of east of the city if you like, to an area called Tollcross, and that means that we're going to have a look at my second beer from Dookit Brewing Company. So this particular beer is called Southside Pale. It comes in at 5.5% ABV, and this one is a hazy pale ale from what I understand. So yeah, this should be pretty nice. Like I said, this is one of the beers that they do very regularly. They consider it part of their core range, so I thought this would make a really nice return to Dookit Brewing after a couple of years. So yeah, the last beer that I reviewed from these guys back in 2021 was the Beelzebub, which was in one of the little stubby bottles at the time. I'm not sure exactly when they shifted over to cans, but yeah, they do have a fair few beers that they've released now since that last review. So yeah, a couple of hops on this one as well that I haven't tried before, so that should make it really quite interesting. But let's crack on with this one then and see how we go. Always nice to return to some Scottish breweries after quite some time. So yeah, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Dookit reviews that I've done already, and hopefully we can add some more at some point in the near future, probably next summer when I go back home to the motherland. But there's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Scottish playlist along with a number of other things. That's been added to quite regular at the moment because I do have a number of Scottish beers pardon me, to work my way through over the next little while. Really looking forward to those. And do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days, even if I do say so myself. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Dookit Brewing Company once again then. So, Dookit Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are now based in the Tollcross area of Glasgow, but they were originally based in the Southside area, and the company was founded by Harry Weskin. So he has worked in pubs from quite an early age, and he got into craft beer through this and trying the different beers that he was serving. But later he started working in commercial breweries as a warehouse manager, then he worked as a brewery assistant, and he just worked his way up from there. And along the way he got into a little bit of home brewing as well. So Harry is helped at the brewery by his partner and some friends, and he also cites Hazel Dunn, the brand designer, as being incredibly helpful at the brewery as well. But the brewery name Dookit is the Glaswegian / kind of West Coast way of spelling dovecote, and apparently keeping birds in Dookits in Glasgow was once a popular hobby, and you can still see several of these little bird Dookits around the city, and apparently the word is also used to describe like a small space, usually without doors. Not really a word I would use as a kind of Stirlinger or someone that's more from the East Coast if you like. It is very much a kind of Glaswegian word. But at present, the brewery is a one-man band, from what I understand, and the beers were originally brewed at Ride Brewing Company, and the first beers were produced there back at the end of 2020, and the brew kit that they were using there was just 5 BBL, so that is, what, about 750 litres, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But later on in 2022, they moved into their own brewing space in the Tollcross Industrial Estate in the east of Glasgow, and apparently they source all their malt from Alloa, very close to where I'm from, and most of the hops come from a carbon neutral family owned farm down in Kent. So they're using Really, for the malt base, everything is local, but yeah, they're using kind of homegrown ingredients almost, if you like, as well. And all of the artwork that you see on the Dookit Brewing cans is produced by Glasgow artists too, from what I understand. And as of September 2025, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 40 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and that number will no doubt continue to increase as time goes on. When I edited the notes for this video, the number from 2021 was 7 beers. So yeah, they have produced quite a few things over the last couple of years, at least 10 new beers a year, something like that. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Dookit Brewery, Dookit Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on then and have a wee look at the beer itself. So I'll let you have a wee look at the artwork on the can then, before we open this one up. As you can see, it's quite nice, quite abstract artwork almost, and I will point out in this video that I am artistically illiterate, more of a music guy rather than an art guy. I can look at it and tell you if I think it's nice, and I do think it is pretty cool, but I have to admit I do like the Dookit brewing symbol there, the kind of, it's almost like a clockwork bird or something like that. I have to say I do quite like it. But yeah, plain silver top on the can there. This one incidentally is 440 millilitres, and it tells you a wee bit about the beer on the back here. So it says, a smooth and hazy pale ale brewed with the finest UK grown hops and grains, named after our hometown, the Southside of Glasgow, is where we dream of opening a bar and a gallery space someday. Expect juicy aromas of grapefruit, orange zest and freshly cut apricots, balanced with deep hedgerow flowers and resonating bitterness. So yeah, it should be pretty nice. It's I told you lies earlier, it's 5.4%, not 5.5%. But yeah, vegan friendly, unpasteurized, unfiltered as well. Should be pretty nice. The hops in this one that I haven't come across before, there's UK grown Cascade in here. It's usually about 8% alpha acid, and of course it will be a wee bit different from the American one, but we know Cascade for its kind of like peary, sultana type notes, it's grapefruit and its kind of floral spice and the wee bit of pine resin. Pilgrim is one that I have come across before, but not in quite a few years. This one was released in 2001, sorry. It's an English hop, 9 to 12% alpha acid normally, and it's known for like lemon, grapefruit and kind of pear flavours and aromas, along with a little bit of berry. And Ernest is another English hop. It was released back in 1923 apparently, quite an old one, but again, this is the first time I can think of that I'm hearing of this one, and it's known for its apricot flavours and aromas, along with quite a little bit of floral spice too. So yeah, this should be really quite interesting actually. Let's just get it out into the glass and see what it's all about. A 5.4% hazy pale ale from Dookit Brewing in Tollcross in Glasgow. Like I say, very curious about this. Should be quite nice. I think that'll be enough for the moment just to have a wee look at this one. So it's supposed to be a hazy pale ale actually, but maybe there's been a little bit of sedimentation with this one, but it's a pretty fresh can actually. I think I bought this one at Valhalla's Goat in Glasgow, where incidentally Harry used to work for a while, from what I remember. But yeah, you can see we've poured maybe about 60% of the beer out and into the glass, and it looks pretty nice. You can see we've got a good little bit of a kind of bubbly head on this one, just under a finger. I would describe that head as being perfect white. I'll just bring that up to the camera for you to have a little look at, and hopefully it will zoom in and focus. It doesn't, it seems to want to focus on the can, of course. Let me just put it over there. There you go. Right, obviously that's the trick with this one. Still getting used to my new Pixel phone, but awesome camera, I have to say that. But yeah, colour wise, this one, lovely kind of pale golden straw colour. Remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few different things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well, but you don't often have to care about that when it comes to the pale ale family of beers. Usually it's a kind of West Coast pale ale, an English pale ale of course, or a kind of New England hazy type pale ale. But yeah, one or two bubbles of carbonation sticking toward the side of the glass there, and you can see if I put my hand behind it, it does have a little bit of natural haze to it, but it's not sort of New England hazy. It says there's a bit of wheat in this one, and a bit of barley, and also some oats, so yeah, I'm thinking this one has only got a little bit of wheat and oats in it just from the appearance. It's not like soupy and gloopy as you might get from a number of the New England pales, if you like. Certainly not as soupy and gloopy as you're going to get from the likes of Overtone in Glasgow over on the other side of the city. But yeah, it looks very, very nice, this one. Not too much carbonation, a couple of bubbles as I say, and a few ones just going up toward the surface of the liquid there. But yeah, this one, as I say, not quite as hazy as expected, but we have seen pale ales that look like this before, so nothing too surprising when it comes to the appearance of this beer. So yeah, let's go on then and have a wee look at the aroma. I'm very, very curious about this one actually. So let's do it. Oh, right, okay. Very bready, I'm going to say that straight away. It's a really kind of bready leaning pale ale, this one. I think that's probably the wheat that's doing that. It's almost a little bit like, dare I say it, a little bit Saison-like in a way. It reminds me of some of the more Belgian type pale ales that I've had as well. So yeah, interesting. When you sugar it up as well, you do get a little bit more of the kind of hoppy and grassy character out of it. One of the things that I'm quite liking about this is that it feels a little bit raw. You can tell it's very sort of small batch brewed actually, and I remember the Beelzebub Porter that I had from these guys before being very much like that as well. I don't think I've ever tried any of these beers on tap incidentally, so maybe I need to go to some of the other bars like Coalship and stuff in Glasgow at some point and just try these beers on tap and see what they're like. That would be really cool as well. Yeah, so aroma wise I do quite like this, I have to say. Very sort of very kind of, for me, very much on the bready end of the pale ale spectrum. So remember, the pale ale style is essentially the little brother of the IPA. So yeah, the IPA and the pale ale and the double IPA and things like that, these are related through their hop to malt ratio, from what I understand. So yeah, they are sister beer styles, brother beer styles, whatever you want to call them. But let's break down the aroma of this one and describe it for you more in depth, because it is giving you everything that you'd want. So the backbone of the beer, you've got a lovely little bit of like fresh white bready bread crust in there. There's little elements of woodiness. There's a wee bit of kind of Jacob's cream cracker to the beer as well. Yeah, lovely little bit of the woodiness, I think, comes out of this one the more that I'm smelling of it, and I'm wondering how much of that is coming from the Ernest and the Pilgrim in here, because English hops can have a little bit more of that woody, earthy sort of thing going on to them. So yeah, definitely a good little bit of woodiness to this one for me. There's a little touch of wholemeal brown bread, but then mostly it's like a fresh, slightly sweet, like hedgehog roll type white bread that I'm getting out of this one. You can smell a bit of the influence of the wheat in here as well. At the back of the nose, it's got a little bit of kind of wheaty bitiness to it, so you get that in there, but you can smell like a more dense, wheatier white bread in there as well. And there's also a good little bit of the oatiness in there too. So the oats actually come across as being a little bit porridgey in this one, with it being, I'm guessing, Scottish oats in here as well. It does have that little bit of a porridgey element to it. So oats are normally a good indicator of how fresh your IPAs and pale ales and things are. Essentially, the creamier they smell and taste, the fresher the beer is, the drier they are, the older it is. But this one is pretty fresh because they still smell quite wet. You know, as I say, Scottish soil, or you know, Scottish malt just has a little bit more kind of earthiness to it and a bit more of a brown bready character. So you can kind of get that vibe from the oats in this one as well. On top of the oats though, there's a little hint of biscuit, you know, like McVitie's Digestive Biscuit, a wee bit of like Werther's Original Butter Candy Butterscotch, very, very slight caramel. I'd say more, yeah, McVitie's Digestive Biscuit and a bit of Werther's Original, you know. It kind of goes together really nicely, actually, the way that this beer, the malty backbone, has grown on me quite a lot, in fact. Kind of reminds me in a sense of Williams Brothers, but I'm guessing the Williams Brothers guys are using malt from that same Alloa maltery as well. Yeah, goes together really nicely, this one. I think we've said what we need to about the malt base, in all honesty. So yeah, when it comes to the yeasty side of things then, you'll get the yeastiness in the back of the nose. For me, the yeasty character in this one is kind of more, it's got a bit more of a brown bready character to it, a fluffy, fresh, white bready character. And then yeah, there's a little bit of like a kind of bread crusty type note to to this one as well. Yeah, I do like how that goes together, in fact. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together, I think, is really quite nice. Yeah, yeastiness, maltiness goes together. There's something very familiar about the yeast in this one as well, I have to say. So I've probably come across this particular yeast strain before. But let's focus on the hoppy side of the beer then. So, the green component first. One thing to remember about hopping IPAs and pale ales and stuff like that is that you've got 3 types of hopping you can do. You can do early addition hopping, which takes place within the first hour or so of the wort boil. That's responsible for the vast majority of your bitterness, and it gives you a deeper, danker green component. You've got late addition hopping, which takes place within the latter half hour or so of your wort boil. Gives you a wee bit of bitterness, but mainly flavour and aroma. Then you've got dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, and that's all about flavour and aroma. It gives you a very bright green component as well. So West Coast IPAs and things tend to use all 3 types of hopping, which is rather deeper, danker, more oily. New England or hazy IPAs tend to rely on late addition and dry hopping, which is why they're a bit softer and more juicy. This one I think's got a little bit of everything in it, to be honest with you, but I don't think it's been too heavily hopped in the whirlpool, if you like, because it's not overly deep and dank in a way. And the other thing I would point out about this one, for me, English hops, I find, tend to work a little bit better in darker beers because they've got more of that earthiness and woody character to them. That's just been my opinion, so I'm wondering if this beer can change my mind on that a little bit, because I know there's a number of higher alpha acid English hops. That statement I made kind of refers mostly to like Kent Goldings and stuff like that. But yeah, the green component in this one, for me, there's definitely a wee bit of woodiness to this one. Definitely a little touch of earthiness as well. Floral aromaticity for sure. I wouldn't call it spicy, but then yeah, you've got that very nice kind of bright grassy sort of character coming out of this one as well. So all in all, for me, I think this is a really, really nice, yeah, it's a really quite nice green component that you've got out of this. But yeah, on the fruity side of things then, for me, I'm getting a lot of lemon out of this one. So I'm guessing that's the Pilgrim that's giving me that. I get a little touch of grapefruit, but not too much. So a lot of lemon, little touch of grapefruit. I can certainly get the Peri Sultana thing. And yeah, there is a wee bit of that dried apricot coming out of the beer too. So yeah, the way that everything kind of pieces together in this one, I think, is really pretty nice. I have to say that. It's a really interesting aroma coming out of this beer. Yeah, as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy that aroma before you get stuck into it. But I think it is about time that we have a taste of this one then and see what it's all about. I think this should be quite nice. So yeah, this one is, you can see it's just got that little bit more hazy as we've poured the rest of it. But yeah, this one is the Southside Pale, a 5.4% pale ale, hazy pale ale as they're calling it, from Dookit Brewing Company in Tollcross in the east of Glasgow, back in my motherland of Scotland. Let's have a taste. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Ooh. That is pretty nice. It is a very bready leaning pale ale, this one. And it does have it's got quite a lot of like crackery, and it's got a slightly peppery, spicy note to it as well. Yeah, it does actually remind me of some of the Belgian pale ales I've had. It's quite yeasty leaning. You really get that out of this one for sure. But it's quite a refreshing, light, drinkable beer. This, I like it. It gets a big thumbs up from me. It does have that little bit of raw, small batched brewed kind of character to it. So yeah, it's good stuff. It is really good stuff. And it is nice and juicy in the beginning. It's a very easy drinking beer, this one, so I can see why they've made it a core range. Yeah, you can see why it's been made a core range beer. So yeah, I like it. See, it's a thumbs up from me. I do wonder as well if this is maybe the furthest one of the Dookit beers has ever travelled, all the way here to Hong Kong actually. So yeah, that's interesting too. But yeah, let's break this beer down then and describe the flavour for you a little bit more in depth. So yeah, middle third of your palate then, the backbone of this beer, you've got a lovely fresh kind of white bready bread crust in there. As you move further forward, it's a little bit more of, yeah, you've got fresh white bready bread crust, it's got a little bit more kind of woodiness further forward there. Then you've got the kind of Jacob's cream cracker sitting on top of that, and the bread crust and the Jacob's cream cracker kind of linger into the aftertaste, a bit of the woodiness as well, and it does give the beer a little bit of dryness. Further back on the palate as well, you get that little touch of like peppery spice mixing in with that too. But yeah, on top of the kind of cracker layer, you get a wee layer of like a wholemeal brown bready note coming out of the beer. So yeah, there's a wee bit of that wholemeal brown bready side of things coming out of the beer. Then on top of that, you get the fluffier white bready character from the barley malt. And I have to say, the bready character in this beer does sweeten up a wee bit the more that you drink of this one. So that's quite interesting too. So yeah, again, I like that about this beer also. But then on top of the brown bread, you can feel the more dense wheaty white bready character as well, and the wheat actually has a little bit of bite to it, which is interesting. So yeah, that more dense wheaty white bready layers there with a wee bit of bite, and then down the middle line of your palate you can just get that little bit of softer oaty character there. But yeah, as you move out towards the sides of your palate, it's just got a little bit more of a kind of dryness to the oat as well. In the dead centre of your palate, there's a little circle there where there's kind of Werther's original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of flavours coming out of the beer. Then it's a wee bit of a McVitie's digestive biscuit coming out as well. So yeah, the way that that goes together is really quite nice. Yeah, malty base in this one is pretty good. It's a wee bit, as I say, the thing that surprised me about this beer a bit is the kind of zip of the wheat and the little bit of almost peppery, spicy character that the beer has. So yeah, interesting stuff. Anyway, let's go to the back third of your palate. As I've often said, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. But yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of kind of bready build up in there. There's a wee bit of the brown bread in the base, the fluffier white bread in the middle, then the more bitey wheat on top. The base of that back third of your palate is a little bit more, you know, the bread crust is a little bit drier, of course. The cracker you can say the same about. Above that you've got the wholemeal brown bready layer, which feels a little bit lighter, drier and more airy. Then on top of that you've got the white bready layer in there, which again feels a little bit lighter, taller, drier and more airy. Then on the very top you've got the more bitey, kind of wheaty character coming out of things as well. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together in this one is quite nice. And above everything else on that back third of your palate, you've got the yeasty side of things. So yeah, let's have a wee look at the yeasty character in the beer too. So yeah, the yeasty side of the beer, for me, at its core, it's got a more kind of wholemeal, brown bready type character to it. So yeah, you can feel that more grainy wholemeal brown, well, it's a bit more of a dense brown bread at its core. Then around the edge it's a little bit more of a kind of grainy wholemeal brown bread, and then yeah, the very edge of that is a little bit more of, yeah, it's got a bit more of yeah, kind of like toasty bread crusty type note, and yeah, it feels a bit like peppery and spicy in a sense. So like toasty grains or something like that. But yeah, definitely back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down, or compresses down I should say, and sort of squashes together that wee bit more. But yeah, very bready, wheaty, bitey leaning pale ale this one. So yeah, interesting stuff. Let's go on to the hoppy side of things then. Back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, it's got a little bit of a kind of woody character to it as well. That's kind of the quality, one of the inherent qualities of the English hops for me. And then the herbal note just in front of that is the same. Then yeah, as you move further forward from that, it's a little bit more kind of floral and sort of spicy as well. And then yeah, around the front curve of your tongue, it's just that little bit lighter and more grassy as well. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together in this one, I think, is really, really nice. So yeah, green component on this one, I do really quite like. The green component for me, like, yeah, it does give a little bit of bitterness into the aftertaste, and the sort of spicy notes coming out of the beer as well are also nice. I think there's a good balance between the sort of the green floral spice and the sort of peppery spice that's coming from the yeast and the malt in this one. I think mostly from the yeast. But yeah, I like that about this beer. Let's go to the front third of your palate then and round off with a wee look at the fruity side of things. So yeah, border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of kind of bready build up in there. You can feel the brown bread in the base, the fluffier white bread in the middle, then the more wheaty bitey character on top. The base of that front third of your palate is, yeah, fresh white bready bread crust, the Jacob's cream cracker, then there's a more wholemeal brown bready note above that, white bread, the wheaty white bread, then a little bit of the oat, and then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, let's have a wee look at the fruity side of things with this one then. Yeah, so fruity side of the beer for me is it's a bit different from what I was expecting from the aroma, in all honesty. If you go to the back of that oily bubble, it's got a wee bit of that kind of stronger, more pungent grapefruity character to it, which you kind of would expect that from the Cascade, in honesty. But yeah, as you move further forward from that, it's absolutely got a little bit of it's kind of like a sultana type flavour in the back half of the front 30 palate. It's kind of like that underneath. There's a wee bit of a more oily pear sitting on top of that, and then yeah, as you reach the middle of that front 30 palate, it's a bit more kind of like dry and apricotty, and then yeah, into the front half of the front third of your tongue, it's a wee bit more it's a bit more sort of lemony, I would say. I think that's the best way to describe what's going on in this one, in honesty. It's a bit more lemony. So yeah, I do like how that kind of pieces together in this one. It's really quite interesting, but it's quite a citrusy leaning pale ale, this one, but with a wee bit more kind of oiliness into the aftertaste. So yeah, I think we've said what we need to about the flavour of this one at this point. So let's round off the review with a wee quick look at the mouthfeel then. So for me, this beer, I would describe it as mid-bodied. It's right in the middle of the spectrum. Carbonation does have a little bit of a prickle to it. And I would say the overall mouthfeel is a little bit like kind of silky or slightly oily, but the beer does give you a good little bit of dryness into the aftertaste. Now with this one, there's a fair little bit of bitterness to this, and you know, I'm not sure whether, you know, you could easily conflate some of the sort of spicy character that I was talking about from the yeast with the bitterness of the hops in here. So I think this has got to be about 60-ish, maybe 70-ish IBUs. It could even be a little bit higher than that, to be honest with you, but it does feel like it's pushing toward that top end of the IBU spectrum. So there's a fair little bit of bitterness to this beer. The malt base is a wee bit drier underneath, smoother in the middle, a little touch of sweetness on top, and then yeah, you've got all those nice kind of fruity notes to it that I was talking about earlier too. So yeah, the way that everything kind of pieces together in this one, I think, is really, really interesting. So yeah, all in all, the way that this goes together, I really quite like it. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. But yeah, quite a bready, almost Belgian kind of saison-y leaning pale ale, this one. I think that's a good way to describe it. But yeah, give it a go and see what you think. I've been impressed with both of the beers that I've had from Dookit now, and I do like it does have a little bit of that kind of raw, small batch or homebrewed type feel to it as well. I always like coming back and reviewing beers like this. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that with this one. This one was the Southside Pale Ale, a 5.4% Pale Ale from Dookit Brewing in Tollcross in eastern Glasgow, back in my motherland of Scotland. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Dookit Brewery as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the fairly near future. But until the next time, check out my social media, check out Dookit's social media as well, and I will catch you guys on another review very, very soon. Ciao just now.